guys, it's your best boxing friends. I'm Kelsey. This is Rachel. Rachel, there's a big internet storm about Boxrec.com's all-time greatest of all-time pound for pound rankings. Okay, they released it recently. Of course, Boxrec is the official record keeper of the records for fighters all over the world, including both here in the UK and the US.
Which is really handy.
Great. What that guy did, what they started, and I interviewed him once and did a piece for gambling.com. I think I'll leave it in the show notes. You can read about it. But interesting touring, great service, provided a need. The old days, the old company that did it, it was not online. It was just ridiculous. And so, yeah, definitely awesome. Boxrec. We love Boxrec. Everybody loves Boxrec. Everybody doesn't love Boxrec's rankings, because Boxrec's rankings are done through algorithm that they can create, basically.
Is that what it is? I thought they pulled it from the alphabet belts.
And now it's
like
computerized.
That's how crazy it seemed.
So now it's computerized rankings. So basically they come up with this methodology. They have all this data. They have this huge data set. They come up with this methodology that awards fighters for anyway. And it comes up with a number score, and then you get the rankings. Now, they have current pound for pound rankings for like today, and they have it for every weight class. And in general, what I would say about their rankings is they exist and that they're not accurate. They're not an accurate reflection of what most people consider to be the rankings in the sport.
And it probably goes to show you that in the sport of boxing, you can't simply use some kind of formula, that there's some amount of subjectivity involved. I mean, the sport itself is like winners are decided by judges, which is very subjective. And then overall, given the different champions and alphabet belts and different things that happen, you really need like a human. I think you need a human being.
You definitely. I've thought about this a lot because of rankings, and of course, you have Ring Magazine, you have the Transnational Boxing Rankings Board, and you have all the alphabet organizations. The problem with boxing, and I love statistics. I love baseball. Baseball is a great example of where statistics are super useful, and advanced statistics, things like wins against like
war.
Yeah, war. There's all these awesome advanced statistics in baseball that really can show, or at least show you a pretty good idea of like who the best players ever were, and that's awesome. The problem with boxing is there isn't any really reliable statistics other than wins and losses. Even our CompuBox system that we use, that has been in place for the last 30 or 40 years, isn't very accurate. There's just impossible to get accurate. Even if you could get true accuracy on punches, you can't measure, at least via today's technology, which does not exist. You can't measure how hard a punch lands, how damaging a punch is. I mean, I don't know how you would do something like that.
Sometimes I wonder how they even decide that a punch is like a power punch.
Well, I'm glad you asked that. A power punch is anything other than a jab. So the description.
Okay, so it doesn't have anything. They're just based off.
You could throw a lazy light left hook, and that's a power punch. So, so it's used. CompuBox, I think, is a good example of something that adds some kind of information that's valuable to our understanding, but can't tell you who won a fight. They cannot tell you who won the fight.
Correct. Like it's like extra information. Usually, like punch statistics should look a certain way if somebody won a fight, but not always. I mean, granted, like if you knock somebody out and it's the first punch you threw after whatever, then. But there was somebody that came out with doing an accurate punch stats. But
same thing exists.
Well, it exists. It's a little more accurate because they're not doing it in real time. They're doing it after the fact. But I think the problem is there's not really a market where for these people need to get paid because this is really hard work. And I don't know that there's anybody out there willing to pay them for this.
Yeah, you would have to, for them to take over from CompuBox, you would have to prove that your method is more valuable, that it's truly more accurate. And to win that battle, you'd
have to do like a lot of work, so you'd have to be basically living off a trust fund.
And guess what? If you started to change the tide and prove that, CompuBox would just change their methods to be your method, which you can't copyright or anything. It's just you're looking at film and tape. Anyway, that's a big different thing to talk about. That's not what I want to talk about. Floyd Mayweather was ranked number 1 all time on CompuBox's all-time great list. Number 2 is Manny Pacquiao. So I just want to say quickly about this list.
Wait, you said CompuBox's list?
I'm sorry,
not
on Boxrec's list. So Floyd Mayweather was #1 on the Boxrec list all time over every other fighter in any weight class ever, and Manny Pacquiao was #2. So I just want to say this about lists and about whether it's a list that's a story, whether it's a like if I write a list for Bleacher Report and I publish a list, or if I create this algorithm that tells me that these people are whatever, it's in my best interest. It's in Boxrec's best interest for it to A, be a little bit controversial, and B, feature people that aren't dead at the top. Because that's who people want to read about. If this thing said Mickey Walker was the best fighter ever, or Harry Greb, who has a good case to be the best fighter ever, nobody would read it. Nobody would click it. Boxrec wants people to come to their site. They get to sell ads on their site. When they get more traffic, they get more money.
Are you saying that they did this to drive traffic?
No. I'm saying that anytime you read a list...
Are you saying it's just their good luck that their algorithm, if they used an algorithm for the pound for
I'm saying
list,
anytime... I have no idea what they did. My personal opinion is no, they didn't purposely make Floyd Mayweather #1, but that their methodology is flawed, because you can come up with a methodology in your head for anything. Be like, well, I'm going to award this many points for this many points for this many points for this, and then see what it says. Mm-hmm. Well, if you see, you can't build a methodology and then just see what it says. I mean, look, it's just like in college football. How many times they've had to tweak what they do in college football to give you the top 2 teams. In boxing, it'd be even harder, again, because there's a lot less stats in boxing. So the real method for determining if you even could do this with mathematics, formula, what does it say? Check it, logic check. Let me look at this and make sure my formula doesn't give me some crazy answer. Some crazy answer like Floyd Mayweather is #1 and Manny Pacquiao is #2 all time over every other fighter ever, including Sugar Ray Robinson and Harry Greb and all these other fighters, Henry Armstrong, Roberto Duran. There's all these other fighters that you would think as a person, like, oh, those people should be up there. Oh, well, then I better go back and fix my formula. And it would just be, this, anytime you write any formula for anything, this is what you would do. That's not what Boxrec has done. I guess that's not their methodology. Maybe they'll continue to go forward. I don't know. Who cares? I'm just saying that, like, when people see this stuff, it makes such a big deal out about it. I tell you that I definitely, when I wrote for Bleacher Report, would err on the side of, well, this is what I think, and I'm going to put it, even though I know people might disagree with me, because when people disagree with me, they're going to want to click on it and read about it. You know what I mean? It's not that I would lie about what I thought. I would just say that I was definitely aware that if I have a controversial opinion, like one of the Klitschko's being ranked in the top 10, people are going to want to read why I think that. It's going to get me more reads. It's going to get me more views. That's just part of the thing. I'm not saying that Boxrec does this intentionally or not. I'm also not saying they don't do it intentionally or not. Like, I have no idea. But as a reader or as a person who sees things out in the world, it's just important, I think, to have all that in your mind of like, oh, well, how would this benefit Boxrec, right? Oh, well, because Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao are the two most Googled people in the whole entire world in boxing. So, yeah, I definitely want those guys at top.
I think we can be happy about that. It seems like their pound for pound list stays true to their overall rankings methodology that they use.
Yeah, they're all-time great lists.
In that it seems horribly flawed.
Yes.
And so that's at least good news, you know, like be consistent in whatever it is that you do.
It's flawed in that
Secondly,
it doesn't give
I'm
you
surprised
that
people would get like all up in arms about it, because whenever I see rankings from Boxrec, as much as I appreciate, like I so appreciate that I can type in a fighter's name followed by Boxrec and get like their
accurate
information about what they fought, their next fight, their weight, like all this stuff, where they're from. But I completely disregard the rankings every single time. So if a pound for pound list came from Boxrec into my like viewing area, I would probably almost immediately disregard it.
I would just look at it and be like,
Yeah.
You know,
so like I'm surprised that like anybody would be up in arms about it, unless it was like, hey, I'm this person that works at Boxrec and I personally made this list out of my own brain, and like you know this person and you want to be like, hey, this is ridiculous. But if it's following their same methodology, then it seems to just fit.
And they don't go out there and say like, this is the definitive list. This is just the thing they do. They create this methodology and they're like, here's what the result says, and that's awesome, and that's what people do a lot. You know what else people do a lot?
subscribe to Real Talk with Kelsey
They
and
do.
Rachel
Over 6 billion people.
have the opportunity
Yeah.
to subscribe to Real Talk with
They
Kelsey
do.
and Rachel.
And so we're so grateful for that. Thanks so much for liking, commenting, and subscribing. Any methodology we use ranks you number one in our hearts and minds, and we thank you for coming and hanging out with us.